That's one for the money. Two for the show, party people in the place to be. What's going on? It's me. Let's get to it. Let's get to it. Bill Cosby. There were new revelations that came forth yesterday. I did not record anything regarding those allegations yesterday because all it really was at the time was like 2 paragraphs and no details and didn't say anything at all. Then, overnight, or as the night progressed and into today, we actually got the unsealed documents the formerly sealed documents, now unsealed documents from the 2004-5 trial, deposition, whatever, that Bill Cosby was involved in, and his testimony. Now, as anybody on this channel knows who's seen that video, which is linked below, I came out and said that I did not believe the allegations. I came out and said that they were too ludicrous, too numerous for me to believe, and not because he was America's dad or anything like that, but just because of what was presented at the time and the fact that there was absolutely positively no evidence whatsoever of such a thing. And before I rushed to that kind of judgment, since rape is tantamount to murder, I wasn't going to say that the man was guilty. I was not going to do that until there came some evidence, some damning evidence. Now, as of yesterday/today, there is quite a bit to chew on. Let's start with this. I've gotten into some online discussions with people who started trumpeting that really tired neo-feminist trope of when are we going to Judd Apatow, for one. I didn't get into an argument with him, but his things flashing all over Facebook and Twitter. When are people going to start believing women? And when they say that they're raped, why did it take so long for people to believe it? First off, people do believe women when they say they're raped, quite often. Even when they haven't been, as has been the case with quite a few people over the last couple of years, most prominently Brian Banks out of Long Beach, California. But also, why did it take this long for people to start believing? Because, once again, there was no evidence. There was no proof. And any kind of accusation of a crime needs that. You need that for anything. Yes, including rape. Now, I haven't read all of the documents. I've read some of them. I'm one of those guys, silly me, who doesn't just believe hype. Like, I read the actual text. Like I've said a couple times before that when it comes to election time, I will go and find the laws that are being proposed and read every word of said laws before I make my judgment and vote. And that's going to be the same thing here. I'm going to read as much of this deposition as I can stomach, as I can get to over however long a period of time that is. As of right now, I have not read all of it, but I've read quite a bit of it. I've seen the excerpts. People have said, people have posted about Bill Cosby's deposition, and what he said was not good. You saw people jump onto the Bill Cosby's a rapist bandwagon, most notably Jill Scott, although I don't think she said that he was a rapist. I think she said that the information that came forth made her change her mind about the decision. She wasn't happy with what she saw. And there were a lot of people, and I got into some discussions with a couple of them too, that were like, that did that whole why didn't Joe believe? I can't believe she and you couldn't stick, and why didn't you believe your sisters when she said when they said, and we said, and all of us said, because it's just said. And these are the same people who, had there been some damning evidence on the other side, on the side of the accusers that said they're in it for the money, they have colluded, there's a common thread here, people have asked them to yada yada yada. Those are the same people that would not have done what Miss Joe Scott did and said, because of the evidence, the first time we actually see any goddamn evidence of anything other than he said, she said, other than a game of telephone and copycat and copy the story, she changed her mind based on what she saw. How many of these people would do the same thing? How many of these people would be able to publicly say, you know what, I was wrong, I changed all that trumpeting, blah, 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 and jumping to conclusions that I did, I was wrong for doing it. How many of them would have said anything? The answer is probably none of them. The answer is probably zero. If you're watching this and you are one of those people who are like, Bill Cosby's fucking guilty, without any evidence whatsoever other than just fucking hearsay, I ask you the question, go ahead and comment below, tweet me, whatever, and tell me, tell the party people, would you have, this is a nice little party discussion, would you have, had we seen any evidence to the contrary? And by the way, the evidence that we're seeing isn't 100% damning, but I'll get to that in a second. Had something come out that said there was a collusion, there was something, Bill Cosby couldn't have possibly done it, would you have done the same? Would you have done what Miss Jill Scott did? Honestly, be honest with yourself, and don't just jump to conclusion. Don't just jump to an answer like you did before there was any proof. Say, yes, I would have, or you know what, maybe I wouldn't have. Maybe I need to rethink how I judge things, my seat in the court of public opinion. Maybe you need, whatever. Now, going to the pin of, there isn't anything that's 100% damning. That is correct. Bill Cosby has not been put on trial yet, for any of the allegations. From what I've read so far, he didn't admit to raping anybody. He wasn't cornered into a position where he blurted it out like a big courtroom Law and Order scene, or the lawyer didn't trap him into saying something that fit all the pieces of the puzzle to make it clear that he did rape anybody. Partially because Bill Cosby's attorney jumped in and interfered and objection and yada yada yada, because A, that's his job, and because two, as we've seen over the last however many years, Bill Cosby oftentimes puts his foot in his mouth, and so it's in the best interest of the lawyer who's working in the best interest of the client to go ahead and object. That's his job. So for those reasons, there still isn't anything that proves that he knowingly drugged women who didn't know what they were doing. There's stuff in there that says he had access to Quaaludes long after they were illegal. There's stuff in there that says that he gave the drugs to women, which, while I disagree with the drug laws in America, is still illegal. There is stuff in there to suggest, mind you, these are suggestions, or this is a suggestion, to suggest that he felt guilt in regard to the woman that the deposition came from. He apologized to her multiple times, which isn't anything new. Like, if my memory serves, that did come out then too, or a couple years after the fact. But that was pretty much all that came out. And that he offered to pay her way through college, whatever. Now, you could easily see that as a sign of guilt. You easily could. And, I've gone back and forth and thinking, yes, It's pretty damning. What we've seen from the deposition, especially what I've read so far, is Bill Cosby's not a good guy. Most people have known, or not most people, but a lot of people have known that Bill Cosby isn't a really good guy for a lot of years. They've had run-ins with him where he was a jerk, or just a sign of loss of control. He got into some gambling debts. He cheated on his wife multiple times. We've known that. Best case scenario from what I've read so far, Bill Cosby is a guy who, at least in those particular instances, was, I don't know, trying to relive some glory days, back in like the 70s when, lewds were just lewds, or, were just party favors or whatever, that's just how he got down then, that's how a lot of people got down in the 60s and 70s. That's the best case scenario. The best case scenario is he gave Quaaludes to women knowingly and had sex with them, which, that's not the healthiest of ways to express yourself sexually. That's, it's not, to say the least. And worst case scenario, he raped some women, and that's a terrible thing. One of the biggest problems is that the worst case scenario is still on the table. And the other problem is that the best case scenario is no longer Bill Cosby couldn't possibly have done any of this stuff. The best case scenario is reasonable doubt now. The best case scenario is Bill Cosby could have done it but didn't, or was on that borderline of rape where he gave them the drugs, but then, or he gave some of the drugs, he gave some of the women some drugs, and maybe he gave one to a woman who didn't want, where he could have raped one of them or some of them. The best case scenario stopped being best case, worst case, and became best case, worst case, which, there's a camera, which is a whole lot worse. He painted himself, he got painted into a corner. Now, how the documents got released, I believe I heard someone say that they were temporarily closed, but paperwork wasn't filed for it to be permanently closed or something like that. The whole thing's a mess. The whole thing's an absolute mess. Opinions have been swayed back in favor of Bill Cosby is guilty of it. My opinion as of now is that Bill Cosby definitely did some illegal shit, that he certainly isn't in the right here, or isn't in the norm here. You know what I mean? Like, people take drugs and have sex all the time, knowingly and consensually. And apparently there was another woman who he paid for college for, now that came out in the deposition, and it's a lot, it's a lot less good for Bill now. He's losing supporters. There are people who, like we've seen apparently on The View, as I was taping this, that came up on my Facebook feed. Whoopi Goldberg and Raven-Symoné said they weren't quick to judge him. They didn't want to they still didn't want to convict him. They wanted to wait and see what happened. Which, as much as I've disagreed with some of the baddie shit that Whoopi Goldberg and Raven-Symoné have said, that has gotten to my ears, because God knows I don't watch The View, but as much of the baddie shit that they've said that have gotten to me, that still has to hold true. I'm sorry, social justice warriors. It still has to hold true. There still has to be discovery if these there has to be discovery of if these allegations are true. There still has to be a trial. There still has to be a process. That's how the legal system works. That's how the society should work. Although we've gotten more into a mob mentality area. So no, and again, from what I've read, there's nothing that Bill Cosby said on deposition on the record that said that he's a rapist. There's nothing. There was many suggestions by the prosecution who wanted that, who wanted to nail that. There are plenty of objections from the defense who wanted to squash that. And you know, it's as close to it's like calling football. It's his foot is as close to the line so far as we're reviewing it. It's as close to that out of bounds line as you could really possibly get without us knowing for sure if he's over that damn line, if he's touched that damn line. It's as close to that fucking end zone as you could possibly get, and we still can't figure out if the ball broke the plane. Because one of the cameras was obstructed by a big-ass lineman. We still can't see if that ball broke the plane or not. And until we can determine if that ball broke the plane or not, we can't rule it a touchdown. We just can't. Now, you can have your opinion, and your opinion can be strong. And now, if you want to rest your laurels, if you want to call Bill Cosby a rapist because of the deposition that came forth, you know what? All power to you. And I've said this before today too. All power to you, because what you have now is substantial. That's the difference. What you have now is a wildly substantial arguing point to rest your hat on. It's no longer just, well, a bunch of women said it. It's substantial now. You have him essentially doing everything but admitting that he did it. It's pretty damning. You know, it's pretty damning. So if I had to say how I feel, okay, here's what I've been struggling with this entire video, pretty much all day, is how to determine where I fall on the spectrum of did Bill Cosby do it or not. Before yesterday, I fell 75% in the he didn't do it column. 75, I was virtually certain that he didn't do it. I just kind of needed some sort of evidence or a trial or something to say that he did it, right? Or to say that he didn't do it. You know, I needed something, just one last piece of the puzzle to say that he didn't do it, right? So 75 to 80%, he didn't do it. Now, I gotta tell you, I'm somewhere between 90-95% sure I'm thinking that he did it at this point. 90-95% thinking that he did it. Oh, you just needed to hear him say that he did it. I needed something. I needed some form of evidence, because I'm sorry, people who are emotionally charged by this. I'm sorry, people who just speak on emotion and just emotion. There was nothing to support the other side for me. There was nothing. There were claims, and claims are not proof or evidence. Now we have some evidence that's, like I said before, pretty damn damning. So, you know, again, I'm not going to 100% say the man is guilty, because there was nothing, again, that I've read so far or that I've seen in any of the excerpts or any of the reports that say that he absolutely did it. There's nothing there to say that he did. It's still a he said, she said, but his testimony puts it more in the favor of the she said. And that doesn't mean that I believe the other however many dozen there are at this point. Because this is the deposition of a case of one woman and another woman is brought up. So that's two. That's two. That's too many. Yes, it is. But that does not then prove the other 28 or however many it is at this point. It doesn't then go and prove the other ones. So, at this point, I think Bill Cosby should, a lot of people have said it, just go off into the sunset, and I think that's probably what he's going to do unless this thing goes to trial. Unless it miraculously goes to trial, I think that's probably what he's going to do. I don't think he could possibly do anything else. And if he had any evidence, I'm sure, or to the contrary, I'm sure his lawyers would have dropped it at some point. But they haven't, and this thing came out, and it kind of breaks the whole thing wide open. So it almost completely breaks the whole thing wide open. It really does. So this is me saying that I am strongly leaning the other direction now than I was before. And no, I'm not going to take down the video. I stand by what I said at the time, because at the time I believed what I said, and I'm a skeptical guy. What can I say? There was nothing, I don't believe it when people compliment me on shit. I don't believe it when people compliment me on anything but a fucking performance. And even then I sometimes have trouble believing that. I'm a skeptical guy. So, unless, you can prove to me that 2 + 2 = 5, I'm going to believe it equals 4 because I can prove that 2 + 2 = 4. And I don't see anything to the contrary. So, this is definitely to the contrary, but it's not 100%. It's not 100% signed, sealed, and delivered. And the thing is, I don't know that it ever will be. Maybe it will be. I mean, this whole thing keeps going on and on and on. Not this video, this controversy. This keeps going on and on and on and on and on. So maybe the prosecution, maybe the accusers will put that final nail in the coffin and convince me 100%. Convince people like Whoopi Goldberg 100%. I can totally understand, and I can totally appreciate Miss Jill Scott's position, her position change. Like I said, I almost 100% agree with it. Again, I haven't read the whole thing, but I almost 100% agree with it. And I'm not going to jump to a conclusion until A, I've read the whole thing, and 2, until something else comes out to suggest that it's absolutely over. Shame. That's more than a shame. It's more than a shame, but a shame seems to be the only word I can come up with at this point in time about what we've seen from young Master Cosby. Let me know what you think down below. I think I've rambled on enough about this. You've seen me flip and you've seen me flop on this, which you can call me a flip flopper, but I'm changing my decision based on the evidence that's presented to me. I think that's what they call the scientific method. I think science does that too. Yeah. So let me know what you think down below. Let me know, did your opinion change at all with the allegations? Not allegations, with the deposition that came out. Which direction did it change from? How much did it change? Are you like me, where you're like 80%? He couldn't possibly have done it, to now 90% he probably did do it. He certainly did some shady shit, and it's well within the realm of possibility that he did this at least twice. It's where I am now. It's where a lot of people are now. Or did you go from 100% he's innocent to 100% he's guilty, or anywhere in between? Let me know what you think about this. As I sit here sweating up a storm and not really yelling or screaming or anything. Just hot, I guess. Boom. Boom.
Suplex City, Suplex City, bitch. Suplex City, Suplex City, bitch. Suplex City, Suplex City, bitch. Suplex City, Suplex City, bitch.